Hallie with Handmade by Hallie here. Thank you for joining my next video. In this video, these are the supplies we're going to need. We're going to need this sign from the Dollar Tree. We are going to need a paint scraper, some scissors. We will need pink, blue, and some white paint. I'm going to make that into some purple. I'm going to coordinate with these two ribbons. And then I think I have an extra little orange carrot I'm going to add to this sign. We're going to need some painter's tape and some fix-all glue. And that's about it. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that hanger off and then carefully lift off that Happy Easter metal sign. So we're going to turn this over on the back and remove all labels to fix it up a bit. And we're going to paint this with Waverly chalk paint in using that snow white color. And we're going to make sure to give this 2 good coats, including the edges, so everything will match. I just kind of lift it up and get those edges to make sure they are painted as well. I do have to go back and make sure I don't have any excess paint that has gotten onto the top. And of course I make a mess all over my hands, but it's not a good project if you're not making a mess, right? Anyway, I hope this is a project you're going to want to follow or try yourself. So I get this painted good, and then I let this dry thoroughly before I go on to my next step. Next, we're going to use this painter's tape, and I have a really narrow one that I've had in my stash for a while. And I put this about 3/4 of an inch apart. And this is going to mark off the different lines we want. And I'm using my ruler to make sure my spaces are as close to straight as possible. There you see I mark my ruler. I'm like, now where am I looking at? Where? You know, you kind of forget what you're doing when you're doing it. So I keep measuring and keep putting this tape. Now, somehow I did mess up my video with me actually painting, but I'll show you what the end product looks like here shortly. I paint these the pink, and I added a little bit of darker pink to make it a little bit darker pink. Green, and it's kind of a blue-green, and then I make a really light purple or lavender. So here you can see the colors, and I decided I wanted to paint this metal sign a little bit. We're going to paint the egg, give it some stripes. This chalk paint will stick really well to the metal, so we're going to give it some stripes with the pink, the green, and the purple, and add in some white. Then I'm going to also paint the bunny, and the bunny will get 2 coats of white. And the second time I paint the bunny, I decided to use a bigger brush. That way I don't have as many brush strokes on that cute little bunny. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is turning out. Hopefully this is something you're going to want to try yourself. So I'm putting those white lines in between the different colors, and then letting this dry thoroughly before I do anything else. Once it dries, I will go in and add a little bit of extra detail on the bunny. I think I'm fixing a little bit of those stripes kind of make them a little bit straight. But Easter egg dyeing isn't all straight. So here you see I'm adding some pink to the inner ear. I'm adding a nose with the pink. Then I clean my brush and I do the blue for his tail. Clean my brush again. Actually, I decided, no, I want to use that blue for his eye or her eye. So give it an eye. Then clean my brush and then give it a ribbon around its neck and paint a little bow with some tails. And then once that's dry, I will add a little bit to the eye so the bunny can see. So here he is, all dressed and ready for Easter. Wouldn't you please do all the things that I need you to do, like and subscribe and even comment on my video? Sure helps my page to grow. So here is the board. Thank you so much. And how it looks painted. And I did also paint some beads to coordinate. So 2 coats of the pink, 2 coats of the blue, and 2 coats of the purple. And the white is just where I left that paint. I think it looks pretty good. I really like it. So now I'm just going to make a simple rag kind of bow, and I'm going to cut. I decided I wanted 3 pieces of this striped ribbon and the white ribbon, cutting the wired ribbon or the wired edges off and holding onto those just in case I decide I wanted to use them in another project, like I've decided in the past. And cutting each one of these 1-inch ribbons in half. Then I repeat the same step for the ribbon with all the different colors on it. And this ribbon is where I got the idea to do the stripes on the board. It's one of my favorite Easter ribbons I've got in my stash. And I think I did pretty good color matching everything. So now I'm just going to lay this out, crisscrossing everything and moving things where I need to. Then I will pinch it in the center. I'm going to use one of those edges of the ribbon that I've cut off with the wire in it and tie a double knot. Cut off any of the extra. And then I'm going to use this tiny little ribbon to cover that tie. And then once I get this up here, I decide that I want to trim the tails. So I'm trimming the tails. I always make my bows just a little bit larger than it needs to be. That way when I trim it to the right size. Make sure to get both sides, get all of the edges, get rid of all that trash, and then I decide I want to add a little bow out of this blue. So I do that, use another piece of that wired edge, cut off the excess and put a dab of glue on the back. And then put that in place. Making sure my tails are trimmed where I need them to be. So now it comes to putting that sign back on. Oh, and there I go. I put give the bunny some sight. So I decided rather than using hot glue and the Dollar Tree Fix All, I'm just going to use the Fix All. And what I had to do was put a piece of paper over the top of this and put something a little bit heavy and leave this sitting for 24 hours because the fix-all doesn't dry for 24 hours, kind of like E6000. So I ended up putting this piece of paper back over the top and letting it sit, and then it seems to be adhered pretty well. And then I add that